Hello, welcome back to my channel, and yes, we're doing a sewing video. I don't know if this is going to be a thing that I do now. I still want to do like my day in the life kind of videos, especially now that I'm gardening and my fig trees are about to be blooming and I'm about to have some pears coming off my pear tree. So we're going to still have some videos like that. So make sure you subscribe if you like more than just sewing videos. This is not an in-depth tutorial. This is me kind of walking through. But right now I am just picking out my baby girl's favorite onesie, or my baby girl's favorite onesie, like my favorites of her onesies, to put in a quilt, because that's what we're making, a quilt for her. It's going to be a quilt that she can kind of use right now, but later on in life it's going to be kind of like a little safety blanket kind of thing. It's not going to be huge because I don't want to run a huge quilt through my tiny little machine. My machine is pretty much just for clothes. It's not really a quilting machine, but I can do simple stuff on it for now. But this is the batting. I am just seeing how much batting I have and basing everything off of that piece of batting. And I don't know why I'm not what I'm filming right now, but I guess I was that's what it was. I was measuring the actual blanket, the backing of the quilt. It's a fleece blanket, but you know, this is what I was doing. I was marking lines to match with the batting, and then I cut it out. And then I laid it down and put the batting over it to make sure I still had some areas like the border, because I'm going to make the batting wrap around to the front for the border, so I don't have to sew two sides for a border. It just kind of gets two birds with one stone, and all I have to do is worry about tracing the sides. But I am taking the rest of the onesies and I am cutting them up. I'm cutting them in like 7 by 5 or 7 inches by 5 inches pieces, and I am cutting the fronts and the backs. That way I can have 2 pieces out of one onesie, so I'm using less onesies. And I did a pile of the fronts and the backs, pretty much the blanks and the ones with the sayings on the front. And I am going to take, I don't think I filmed it, but I had other material that I use for this, and I am taking those and making a separate pile. They're kind of like my scrap material or my fillers that I put it in with the onesies. And I think I filmed it later on. Oh, here's the scrap pieces. So I cut those up in the same pieces, but I also used some burp claws, or no, they were the receiving blankets. So I cut up some receiving blankets to match with the pieces to go in the front too. And my serger's right there, but I am using my sewing machine for this project. I like to use the serger when I'm doing my facial pads that I sell in my Etsy shop, or doing some kind of clothing. I like to do my clothes with the serger, but I do have some projects in the future that I show of me doing on my sewing machine. But I just take all of those pieces, especially the piles that I was just describing earlier, with the front onesies and then the back of the onesies and then that extra material. I have them all in 3 different piles, and I just line them up together and make, I don't remember how many rows. I think I had 8 and 8, like they were 8 rows. Maybe, yeah, it was like 8 rows and 10 columns or something. I can't remember. But I just put everything in a square, and I don't really try to match it with the exact measurements. I rather go over the measurements and then cut it down to fit the blanket, if that makes any sense. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I like to do. I did that with my husband's quilt, and I did do a video on that, so it's under my sewing playlist. But it doesn't line up straight when you're done, but it just takes all the guesswork or the perfectionist out of it, and you end up with a pretty good straight quilt without having to worry about if your squares are perfectly straight, because there's no such thing as getting everything perfectly straight. So anyways, I am cutting a receiving blanket because I realized in the middle of this I didn't have enough pieces for the quilt, so I cut up some more of the receiving blankets, and I think I get a few more onesies that I'm willing to cut up. I did not want to cut up too much because obviously I plan on having more kids, but, well, I say more kids, like 1 or 2 more. I don't think we're going to hit 3 kids. I think I'm going to be, I say stuck with 2. I think I'm going to be gifted with 2 kids, I guess I could say gifted or blessed with 2 kids. I really want 3 or 4, but 4 is pushing it right now because it's hard enough to have 1 kid, and it's extra hard on my second try at having a kid. Like, we're still trying to have a second kid, and hasn't happened yet, and it's been a year later since, I gave birth, but it's only been 6 months since we actually tried. Anyways, back to the video. I'm putting all those pieces together, trying to use as little onesies as possible. I did end up using a couple of onesies that I did not know I didn't cut up with Ellie's initials on, so I took those because this is going to be Ellie's blanket, and when we do have, 1 or 2 kids in the future, they'll know that that's Ellie's blanket. You don't touch her blanket because it has her name on it, and that's hers. So I am just finishing up those pieces and drinking my water. You gotta stay hydrated because sewing takes it out of you. But, I am using, hold on. First off, let me explain. I have 2 mattresses in the back of the room. The one on the left is Ellie's, and it's going to be hers when she grows out of her crib, and she's going to go straight into a twin size bed. But, it's not going to be too far off the ground or anything. Josh is going to make like her own little bed, something unique for her. And the one on the right is an old mattress we've had for years, and this is supposed to be a guest bedroom, but we don't know yet. We're still kind of debating on what this room should be, but mattresses are in there, and I kind of have it blurred out for the right one because the right one has some stains on it because it wasn't ours before. Like, it's a mattress that's, I'm telling you, it's old, so I blurred it out. But anyways, cutting up more pieces, and then after I cut up these pieces, I am finishing up. I'm putting the rows together and summing it all up. But what I wanted to tell y'all before the mattress thing was I am using white bobbin and pink top thread, if that makes sense. Like, you see the pink spool on top. I'm using pink, but the bobbin thread I think is white. And yeah, one spool did great for this little, I guess you could call it a toddler blanket. So one spool worked great. I think even one bobbin worked great. It doesn't take a lot of thread, so that was great. So nice beginner project to get you started on your first quilt. I think this part took the longest, putting the pieces together. That's why I don't like to do small itty bitty pieces. The bigger the pieces, the better, because it just takes less time. It's less tedious, and if you're new on the machine like me, it's been a while since I used a machine, so yeah. And then we're lining everything up, and I like to pin with quilting pins. They're like clothespins, but they're like super huge, and I start from the middle and I kind of spread them going outwards. That way you can make sure everything's flat and lined up. It's not going to be perfect. I don't think any quilt that you do is going to be perfect. You just kind of have to, work with it. Some people use a whole bunch of things to make their quilts perfect, but to me, I want this as homemade looking as possible. I don't want it to look perfect, but I am, first of all, okay, so I'm working on the front top stitch first, if that makes sense. I am going around the edges, and then once I go all the way around the edges, then I go up and down the rows, and you can go across the rows too and make like squares within your squares. You can also what they call stitch in the ditch, where you stitch in the seam or where the seams connect, but I like to do it off the ditch, if that makes sense. That way it just all lays flat, and to me it's like double secure because you're not stitching in where it's already stitched, you're stitching in other places. So the more that you have pinned down, the better. I did want to freehand the top stitch, but I didn't have the connection or the thing to do it. Like, it's a foot, and it's a special foot where you can go around, and I didn't have that, so didn't get to do that. But after I do the top stitching, I then roll up the sides, and not only do I roll it forward, I tucked in the edges and I pinned those so that everything stayed nice and flat and in place. And I worked, I think it was like it's like 3/5 inch or 3/4 of an inch, I don't know, something like that. It's like 3/5 or 3/8 of an inch seam that I go down and sew. But yeah, this really worked really well. I can't wait to do more blankets in the future. I am so overwhelmed. I want to do so much on my sewing machine, but I am trying not to overwhelm myself or not burn out myself, because I tend to do that where I just keep going and don't stop. And then once I stop, I'm like, oh, I did too much. And I'm like, what did I do? So I'm trying to slow down on sewing and crocheting, because I'm not getting burnt out. I need to slow down, or else I'm going to run out of all materials and have nothing else left to do. Because when I get obsessed with something, I'm telling you, I get obsessed. Oh, I also want to explain, in the corners, I go up and down the binding because there's that fold, and I make sure in the corners I go up and down that fold. You can't forget those, or else everything's going to come unraveled. But yeah, I need to slow down on sewing, or else I'm going to run out of materials and run out of things I really want to do. So yeah, but I hope y'all enjoyed this video. This is like coming towards the end, because after I get done with this binding, which I'm Googling something, I don't know what I'm Googling. I don't even remember what was going on right here. I guess the tension was weird maybe, or something. I don't know. But once I finish it, I show y'all the end, and I just hope y'all enjoyed this video. And if you want some more sewing videos, make sure you comment down below and let me know. Also, like the video, it helps, and subscribe for more. So thank you lots for sitting down, enjoying hearing me talk and ramble on. But look how cute it looked. Yes, I have a few squares that are, all together, but it just makes it look more homemade. So anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this. Have a nice rest of your day. Make sure you do something for a loved one. Make sure you, show them that you care, and happy late Valentine's Day from me.